my pleasure to have Jonathan Larson on air today to talk about a subject that is not my pleasure, but it was my idea, and that is spiders. Jonathan, welcome. I think our viewing audience for Backyard Farmer knows that spiders are just not my deal. So to have you talk about them, maybe that will also help some of our other audience members get over a little bit of the fear of spiders. Okay, Jonathan, so what really is the difference between spiders and all sorts of other insects, bugs, cockroaches, whatever? What's the difference?
Sure, absolutely. So they're all part of a big group that we call arthropods or arthropoda. And this is sort of the big group that they all dwell in, things like insects and spiders. Insects are off in their own little nook and cranny that we call insecta, while arachnids, the spiders, the scorpions, the ticks and mites, they're over in their own little group. And the main difference in terms of body plan is going to be that arthropods that are arachnids are going to have two body segments. They have a cephalothorax in the front and then an abdomen in the back. And they have 8 legs. They have 4 pairs of legs, 4 on each side.
There are people, Jonathan, myself among them, who have something called arachnophobia. Why is that? What is it about spiders that just sends people over the roof?
That's a really great question, and one that I've always been really fascinated by. I do a lot of talks about spiders. I chat with a lot of folks about spiders, and I always get that reaction. There's always a very visceral first reaction of gross or ew, or let me run away from you right now while we talk about this. And I always try to ask people what it is about spiders that bothers them. And arachnophobia, that's a true psychological syndrome. I mean, that's something you need to get some help with probably. But for other folks, it's just a creepy thing, right? They talk about spiders move too quickly for them. They pop up out of weird spots. It's the fact that they have too many eyes or too many legs that freaks them out. They're hairy. And then really the venom, that's the thing that gets to a lot of people, is this idea that spiders are somehow inherently dangerous, that they're looking to bite you and that they'll inject you with this powerful poison that's going to harm you in some way. But the truth is that spiders are really keystone predators out in our ecosystems. We want spiders around. I know that's hard for you to agree with possibly, but they do so many good things out in the environment. Without spiders, you'd see a huge upswing in things like mosquitoes that are biting you, other pests, maybe things that are attacking your garden. If you don't have these keystone predators around, things can really fall apart. So we need to sing their praises a little more, give them a little more confidence.
We get a lot of questions during the season, Jonathan, about especially brown recluse spiders in the southeastern corner of the state. People are pretty wigged out about the idea that a dinky little thing like that could bite them and potentially kill them. What are the poisonous spider issues in Nebraska?
There's really just 2 spiders here in North America that we worry about, and that's the brown recluse and the black widow, the 2 famous spiders. The black widow, very classic looking spider. Everybody knows what she looks like. She's dark jet black with that red hourglass on her abdomen, about 1.5 inches in length. And they have a neurotoxin. It plays on your neurons. It plays tap dance up there. And it can kind of give you these nasty flu-like symptoms. But in terms of fatalities, the studies that I've read about have shown that we really haven't seen anybody die from a black widow bite in the last decade or so. It's happened in the past, but only with the very young and the old and the infirm. The other one, the brown recluse, that's one that really scares a lot of people. People think about that as this spider that's going to melt off part of their flesh, and it does have a necrotic venom. It usually results in a small divot in your skin, and you start to itch that, and you introduce things like MRSA or other bacteria or fungal pathogens into the wound, and then that's when things can get really gross. But the fact of the matter is brown recluse bites are really rare. The brown recluse is not a nationwide insect here in the U.S. It only dwells in sort of the central corridor of the United States up until about southern Nebraska. It doesn't get much further north than that. It doesn't live in places like California or the East Coast. And if you encounter it, it's more likely to run away from you than it is to bite you. But if it does bite you, you can seek medical help, and they'll be able to clean that wound out for you, and you won't have to worry about it.
Okay, so those of us who would really prefer to not share our domain with spiders, the control methods that come to mind are a good boot, a nice fly swatter, running, screaming, or a sticky trap. What do you recommend in terms of people getting rid of them, or maybe even keeping them out to begin with?
Well, I think you talked a little bit about them. We've got fly swatters in your boot, your shoe. You can just squish these organisms. They're not going to get away from you very quickly. If you really want to prevent them from coming in, or you want to prevent them from moving around, things like glue traps that you can buy at a gardening store, they do crawl up on those commonly, particularly if you put them near the wall, near the baseboard. They like to follow those lines. And so if you get up close to those areas, you'll see that you capture most of them. If you wanted to spray something, you can use exterior insecticides, things like Ortho Home Defense, that is registered for use against spiders. A 3-foot band of that around your home would prevent them from entering for a few weeks in the fall if you were really worried about it. But mostly, you don't really have to worry about them too much trying to get in. They don't last too long once they're inside. They usually run out of food and water and they die elsewhere. But if you do want to prevent them, those are the tactics I would use.
Okay, Jonathan, thanks for giving us that information. I'm sure that gardeners who are not afraid of spiders, or the ones who are a little bit afraid, will be looking at them a bit differently in their gardens this season.
Hopefully so. Thanks for having me on.